Good evening. Welcome and thank you for being with us tonight for the St. Helena City Council Mayor Candidate Forum. I'm Sherry Thomas of the League of Women Voters of Napa County. Tonight, we're here to help educate St. Helena voters by giving you the opportunity to hear from the candidates for this race. We are providing a Spanish translation via the Zoom interpreter capability. If you wish to listen to the Spanish translation, click the globe icon, usually at the bottom right of your screen, and check Spanish. Our translator for tonight is Dalila Hernandez. We are recording this forum and it will be posted on YouTube and our League of Women Voters Napa website, which is lwvnapa.com. Per FCC rules, no other recording of this forum or excerpts from the LWV recording are allowed. The League of Women Voters is a trusted membership organization that encourages informed and active participation in government. We are nonpartisan and do not endorse or oppose candidates or political parties. The League does participate in issue advocacy and voter education. If you would like to join us in our work, please visit our website, lwvnapa.com, for membership information and much, much more. The League encourages civil discourse, and the candidates have all agreed to participate under guidelines set for this forum. The candidates have agreed to confine their remarks to the qualifications and issues and not to resort to defamatory remarks about other candidates. We expect all registrants to also be respectful of all the candidates. Microphones and videos are off for everyone except the candidates and the LWV forum team. Please remember to mute yourself when you are not speaking. I'd like to introduce tonight our moderator, Bernadette Brooks, and our timekeeper, Linda Diedeker-Yolo, to take it away from here. Oh, you're muted, Bernie.
Delilah was just checking to see that the interpretation was set up properly. So.
Buenas noches. Lo pueden escuchar en el canal de español.
Ah, there we go. Thank you. Okay. Well, thank you, Sherry, and thank you, and good evening, everyone, and welcome, candidates.
Y bienvenidos a los candidatos.
We'll just need you on mute, Dalila.
I don't think the Spanish channel is open properly.
Oh. Okay. It says you have not joined. All right. Well, something happened in terms of setting up you as the interpreter, which I did. I don't know what happened. So I'm sorry. This might not work this evening. Now we need to start. Sorry. Okay. Well, thank you, everyone. Sorry for that confusion and issue. This portion with the candidates is an opportunity for the community to learn about all the candidates that are applying for both St. Helena mayor and city council positions. We will give each candidate time for an opening statement and answer as many questions as we can fit in about an hour, and then finish with each candidate's closing statement. The questions were solicited in advance from the community and League of Women Voter members. Our team screened the questions to avoid duplication and ensure nonpartisanship and civility. The candidates have not seen the questions in advance. We will not be taking questions over chat. Tonight, we have with us the two candidates for the position of St. Helena mayor, a 2-year term, Paul Doring and Billy Summers. And then we have 3 candidates for 2 open seats for city council, Aaron Barrick, Michelle Deasy, and Hector Mariquin. Our timekeeper behind that green box is Linda Diedeker Yolo, and she will be keeping track and flashing a green screen to start, a yellow screen when there are 30 seconds left, and then the red screen when your time is up. And so now we will get started. The order for the questions to be asked was determined by random selection just before the forum started. And Billy Summers got picked as the first one to go. And so, Billy, please start. You have 1.5 minutes for your opening statement.
Okay. You guys ready? Thank you, League of Women's Voters and everybody that's participated tonight. My name is Billy Summers. I'm a former professional athlete, former cinematographer, worked on a lot of feature films and did a lot of commercial work. I'm also a business owner in the Napa Valley. I'm a father. I raised my family here. And I've been on the council for 2 years, and I've had a lot of people, ask or demand that I ran for mayor. It kind of confused me, but I said I'm willing to serve. Paul's been there for 10 years, and we have no financial oversight committee. We have no wastewater committee, and Paul didn't seem that interested. He was aligned with staff and letting it go, but I think it's really important to follow up on that. Paul's a lawyer. He believes in rules and laws. He runs it tight. I'm a freedom fighter. I believe in people first. I believe in truths and rights, and that's where I'm at with it. I'm not afraid to make mistakes. I've made mistakes, and I've brought things back to the council under Robert's rules and re-voted. I'm not afraid to own up to my mistakes, and I'm not afraid to be disliked to do what we got to do. The problem that we're facing right now is being directed by staff and, allowing them to tell us what to do rather than asserting our power, being smarter than the staff and making moves to change our town to what we want and realizing that it's our town. It's not the staff's town. And, about a month and a half ago, I voted no on $1.79 million in smart meters. And Paul voted yes. I don't think it's super smart when we're coming up on budget deficits and we have stuff in November that can really change the complete landscape of our budget and our finances. We don't want to dip that far into our revenue. So it's a critical time to show up and make change, and I'm here to help. Bless you. Thank you.
Thank you. And the same, now we will move on to Hector Marquin for 1.5 minutes for your opening statement.
Hello, my name is Hector Marquin. I want to thank the League of Women Voters of Napa County for hosting this event. Just want to introduce myself real quick, just tell a little bit about me. I am a Napa Valley native, raised here almost my entire life. Local businessman here in town in St. Helena, father, and have three beautiful children that are currently going to the St. Helena school district here in town. And I'm basically running to continue my work, my nonprofit work that I do. I run a local fraternal nonprofit organization here in town, the Masonic Lodge, and we do a ton of work here in this community. And this is something that I take near and dear to my heart. And I've always been about the issues, even when I'm not even running for council or anything like that. I'm always more or less showing up at the council meetings and trying to figure out what's going on in our town and speaking up when I can. And at this point, I've been asked to join the fray and to contribute my professional expertise and work over the years that I have developed. That I was in real estate finance for almost 20 years. I was in the hospitality industry for at a very high level for about 10 years as well. So I've been there, I've done that. I got the pulse of this town. I feel the merchants here, and I know exactly what they need, and they tell me every day what they need, and I'm willing to give that to them. Thank you.
Bernie, you're muted.
I'm sorry. Aaron, you're next. Your opening statement, please.
Thank you. First, I'd like to thank everybody online today in the League of Women Voters. I think this is a great forum to learn more about the issues and where everybody stands. My name's Aaron Barrick. I'm in the race to focus on St. Helena's key issues as I see them in the near term, and that's financial stability and transparency with our local government to the residents. I have 10 years of local government experience coupled with 20 years in finance, and I'm ready to bring that to work for the town and collaborate with the candidates who are successful and the existing council folks and the mayor, whoever that might be, to get good things done for the city. We've got big problems, but there's hope. We have solutions. They're on the table. Some are on the table beforehand, some are new. We can get this done working together, but this is the time to come together as a town and get our town back on the right track to success. Thank you.
Thank you, Aaron. And now, Paul, your opening statement.
Well, thank you for having me, League of Women Voters. I'm Paul Doring, and I'm the current mayor of the city of St. Helena. I've been on the council for 10 years, 4 as a vice mayor, the last 2 as the city's mayor. I also served on the Calistoga Council for 4 years and the Planning Commission there for 2 years. So I have a vast amount of experience. I've seen city managers and staff come and go, and I know how to handle staff in the way I think leaders do handle staff, preserving staff morale, ensuring institutional memory, making sure your staff is on board with the goals that the council sets. And I'll continue to do that here if elected by my citizens here in St. Helena. I've been practicing law for 36 years in real estate, business, land use, litigation. So I understand the business of the Napa Valley very well. I understand governance very well. I understand what we can and cannot do under a city manager council form of government. Councils for set policy for staff to execute it, and there's a clear demarcation there. Some may have a different opinion as to how much power the council should assert, and I agree with that. Sometimes the council doesn't assert enough, and sometimes it does, and I'm open to getting better at that part of it. I'm focused on the goals that our council has set for us. I think we've done a good job over the last 2 years meeting the moment in those goals. I am open to looking at our finance and bringing in more folks to look at our finance through a finance committee. Looking forward to working with these folks here. I see my time's up. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. All right. And Michelle, your opening statement.
Great, thank you. Good evening, everyone. My name is Michelle Deasy. I'm so appreciative of the opportunity to participate in this forum and this election. Thank you, League of Women Voters, for having us all. I've stepped up because I'm interested in the issues and I'd like to contribute. As I see it, there are 2 issues in St. Helena that require urgent solutions: water, and by that I mean drinking water, cost of water, and groundwater, and unbalanced budgets. And while we deal with these issues, which are very urgent, we have to be actively planning for the future. St. Helena is a fabulous place to live. It's a great place to be with my husband and 3 school-age children. However, we're losing residents and school enrollment, and this represents a threat to our community. I'd love for us to be talking about economic development beyond hotels and retail in a way that anticipates the economy and the jobs of tomorrow and really builds a future where all of our residents can thrive. I want to support city staff in its work and also ask tough questions because asking tough questions is the key to finding the best solution. The best part of all of this, and I believe we can do that respectfully and collaboratively, tough, respectful, and collaborative. The best part of all of this has been getting out and meeting so many cool and interesting St. Helenans. I've really been loving it, so thank you so much.
Great, thank you. And now we will move on to the first question. The question is, why do you want to serve on the city council or as mayor? And what do you hope to accomplish if elected? And what are your 3 top priorities? So that's a lot to be in there. And we will start with Hector. Hector, you're on mute. There you go.
Thank you for the question. That's it's a lot. It's a big answer on that, but The reason why, again, I joined is to make sure that my professional experience and my longtime residency here, I bring, is brought to the forefront and is able to be expressed on the city council. And to be able to let residents know that, hey, look, there is somebody that's on council that has some institutional memory, that understands the culture and the history of this town, and can take that information and learn how to apply it to new policy and policy that needs to be implemented, working with staff. The three things that I really am very focused on right now is affordable housing, getting our city finances under control, as everyone else is, and then also just looking at the big picture and helping businesses develop and bringing business down to the downtown area and to get our region thriving again. Those are my big main things.
Thank you. Thank you. I realize that's a big question for 1 minute. And now, Aaron, for you, why do you want to serve? What do you hope to accomplish? And what are your 3 top priorities?
Sure. So I hope to accomplish a lot, but to accomplish anything, you have to work with everyone else, right? And collaborate. So I've been pretty open on my priorities on my website. That's passing a financial package that is more equitable and hits all the areas of St. Helena, meaning everybody should have skin in the game. We're in this together. 2, I think Michelle talked about this a little bit, water. Both short-term tactically with SIPs in quality and long-term, and economic development, particularly around looking at annexation for Meadowood, Madrone Knoll.
Thank you. And Paul, same question. Why do you want to serve? And what do you hope to accomplish? And what are your top 3 priorities?
Service is just a fundamental part of my core values. I was taught that from an early age. And so I'm continuing to serve because it's an opportunity that's been given to me. And I have a gift of organizational skills, legal skills, mediation skills, relationship building skills, cohesion building skills, skills that we need now to tackle the problems that we have in our city. The goals I have are the same goals that our city council has set for itself. We have 8 goals. For me, the top 3 are working with who's ever going to be on this council, my colleagues here, to shore up our fiscal resilience. There's no doubt that if that can't be done, then other things can't be done, like affordable housing, which is extremely important to me. Water security, making sure the supply of water is sound and the quality of water is sound. Continue to really focus, as we've done in an unprecedented way, on restoring our infrastructure that has been left to decay over almost 50 years.
Thank you. And Michelle, why do you want to serve on the city council? What do you hope to accomplish if elected? And your top 3 priorities?
Great, thank you. I'd like to serve on city council because this is where I live and I enjoy getting involved. I also think that I have something to contribute. I have a strong academic background. I've got degrees from in the social sciences, as well as 15 years in corporate America, where I was a little bit in technology, but primarily in finance. And now I work in workforce and economic development. So I'd like to bring some of those thoughts to the table. My number 1 priority is water. I think that is the big one. Everything else can be solved. Water is huge. The first thing I'd like to see is a Citizens Water and Wastewater Advisory Committee and possibly an oversight committee. Water is a huge problem. I think it is more than our small staff can handle, not because they're not competent, but because it's a big problem, and I'd like to see that. Unbalanced budgets I'd like to solve, and then number 3 would be affordable housing. Thank you.
Great, thank you. And Billy, the same question to you. Why do you want to serve? What do you think you hope to accomplish? And what are your top 3 priorities?
I don't really want to serve, but if no one else is going to do it, then I'm willing to jump in with 2 feet wholeheartedly and bring our community back together, right? Community, right? It's like we need more trust with the city. We need to develop more trust with our community. And that's going to be through transparency, being honest and being authentic and not strategizing, because transparency is the new winning. What I want to do is, of course, fix the water, but think outside the box and regenerate more water. We got to balance the budget. We need to focus on our downtown plan. And we also, I really want to restore the Red Barn, you know, amongst other things. So, you know, that's what I got. I hope I answered it well enough in a minute. There's so much to
No,
say.
it's hard. There's so much there. I know. Great, thank you. And now we'll move on to the next question, which we'll start with Aaron. What are your ideas to protect the quality of life in St. Helena while dealing with all these issues of housing needs, traffic, and economic development?
So protecting the town's huge, and it's hard because as we've been working on solving budget, solving water, right? All these things are being worked on. What's been happening at the same time is we've lost almost 1,000 residents since 2019. So change is happening with or without us. And we need to stem or affect those dynamics. And one of the way we can do it, we can't completely fix it on the macro level, but we can engage with city staff and have stipends so they can live in St. Helena. A lot of them want to live here. They can't afford to live here. I'm sure we can all relate to that. Those stipends are not, do not have CalPERS ramifications. So it can be a win-win for staff and for us. That's one way to do it. The other way to do it is keep engaging with a private-public partnership for affordable housing, right? People want to live here. It's just, again, it's so expensive. And we need to have that in the front of all of our policies.
Sorry, it's a quick 1 minute, but thank you. And now the same question to Paul. What are your ideas about protecting the quality of life while dealing with issues of the housing needs and traffic and economic development?
Obviously a lot to say there, and it's dear to my heart in this area. However, very difficult to answer that question in 1 minute. For me, protecting the quality of life naturally leads me to think about public safety, and public safety naturally makes me think about safe sidewalks, safe streets, a functioning police department, a functioning fire department, evacuation preparedness. That's quality of life for me, but also this balance of seeking out revenues, but maintaining sort of that balance of our agrarian values, a thing that I think is slowly eroding over time. I've been in the Napa Valley for 33 years, and I've seen an erosion of just solid neighborly values. And that, to me, is quality of life, when your neighbor's willing to put themselves out to knock on your door and ask how you're doing to help you out. We need to focus on being human and taking care of our neighbors. That, to me, is quality of life, and I model that to the best I can. I make mistakes, but that's what I'm all about.
Thank you. And Michelle, what are your ideas about protecting the quality of life in St. Helena while dealing with these issues of housing needs, traffic, and economic development?
Yeah, great. Thank you. I would agree with Aaron that a lot of it is about number of residents. I think number of families with children and children in our school district. The decline's not just been since 2019. I actually have a master's degree in demography. It's been going on a lot longer. That was an artificial spike due to COVID in 2019. It's been a longer trend. I think we need to be really paying attention to bringing industries and jobs that fit into the fabric of our town that will bring living wage jobs. It is not, that doesn't mean, big manufacturers, but there are some things we can do to be purposeful about that. It might start with an economic development grant where we can maybe create an innovation hub with things helping to solve problems like groundwater, and maybe do some agricultural tech things. But I think having industries and jobs here that pay a living wage will start to address the ability for people to live here, for upward mobility, and to make sure that we remain a community and not just a tourist town. Thank you.
Thank you. And Billy, same question. What are your ideas to protect the quality of life while dealing with issues of housing, traffic, and economic development?
I agree with a lot of what my friends and colleagues have said, tonight, Paul, Aaron, Michelle. I agree. And I think we do need to move forward in an innovative way, focusing on grants and bringing in other industries. For instance, can we partner with UC Davis in hydrology and create a component here where we can look at our Bell Canyon Reservoir and go deeper into expanding the regeneration of our own water beyond sustainability, but regenerate our own water, turn that into potable water, send it back up to the reservoir, and increase our reserves by 30%. Things like these. Also, we need to protect the people, like Paul suggested. It's really important to recognize and honor these diverse voices. And it's not just a voice, but it's also a heart. You know, it's a person. And connection is what we've lost, connecting the community with the council and the city staff and bringing that together in the town. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. And Hector, what are your ideas to protect the quality of life in St. Helena while dealing with the issues of housing needs, traffic, and economic development?
Thank you. That's a fantastic question. I think almost everyone has hit on a little bit of everything, and everyone's right. It's all really connected. At least for me, go off a little bit more on what Paul said in terms of maintaining quality of life is maintaining services. That is key. We have to make sure that this remains a high quality service community. It's what the community expects. We have to make sure that we have the right amount of income still coming in. We have measures on the ballot, in which I fully support that we maintain those. And also we need to protect the family. We have to protect this multi-generational culture that we've got going on. We have families that have been here for generations. My family's been here for almost 50 years. My wife's family's been here since 1870. We want to be able to stay here. So that means affordable housing and really making sure that families can remain here and continue this multi-generational value that we've got here.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. And now for question 3, we will start with Paul. How would you improve fire safety and community resilience for fire and extreme heat? And how would you fund these improvements?
Well, the funding is a challenge, and as Hector said, we have a ballot measure for a transfer tax and an initiative for a hotel. Fire safety, fire preparedness, and prevention are obviously critical given the fires that we've lived through in the last couple of years. We have to keep planning for defensible space. We have to make sure that our citizens are prepared in everything they do. We have to drill repeatedly. We have to make sure that our own public properties are safe, weed-free. We have to just continue to educate our folks. The funding is going to be the challenge, and it's up to the community to fund that. We have a model of a fire department right now that is exceptional but rare. That we're really lucky. We save probably $250,000 a year because we have part-time volunteer firefighters that contribute to our professional firefighters. I worry that model is sustainable, but that's what I have right now. I see my time's up.
Okay, thank you. And Michelle, how would you improve fire safety, community resilience for fire and extreme heat? And how would you fund those improvements?
Yes, I'm sorry. First, I want to say that Aaron had sent something in the chat about population. So I may have misspoken about my longer term trend. I was only looking at 10-year census data. So if I'm incorrect, I'd like to say that. And thank you, Aaron, for sending that along. I got off track. I'm looking at his response. How would I improve? Is that the question? Fire safety?
Fire safety, fire and extreme heat, and how would you fund those improvements?
I think our fire department is fantastic, and I would like to support that and always look at. I am interested in shared services, not in a way to reduce our fire department's ability, but in a way to enhance it. And so wherever there are opportunities, not only to have shared administrative costs, but also allow for to cut costs on administration by shared services so that we can do more. That would be my thought. Thank you.
Great, thank you. And Billy, the question to you, how would you improve fire safety and community resilience for fire and extreme heat, and how would you fund those improvements?
Okay, well, first off, working with, our fire department is top notch. I love Chief Sorensen. I also really respect the Firewise Council. My thought is this: we gather the community and we create, one day out of the year where we fire harden as a community. We give education on how to fire harden the property, and we do our own work so that every little drop, it's like recycling, if every person on my street can fire harden and be aware and clear out, the fuel load on our city and in our town, we can create awareness, and it can be a little bit fun, and it can be something that we do every year to prepare ourselves and then power it ourselves with our own human power as a community.
Great, thank you. And now Hector.
Yes, thank you for that question. Yeah, I've gone through three evacuations in wildfire, and just having to get my young family out of here. So I definitely understand what it's like to have to live in this. The defensible space and the preparedness, that is absolutely key. We have to continue to maintain that. We have to continue to maintain these drills. On Tuesday at the council meeting, it was made clear our services are fantastic, especially with the part-time and the full-time model. One thing I did talk to the chief about was a volunteer fire brigade. In times when we have this going on, our guys get spread thin. And as it is right now, what ends up happening is that volunteers from the community go into the hills themselves, on their bulldozers and everything like that, cutting lines. We need to give that more structure, and to make sure that if St. Helena does actually get that, is told to evacuate totally, that these people can stay and continue to do their work to enhance the fire department.
Thank you. And Aaron, same question. How would you improve fire safety, community resilience for fire and extreme heat, and how would you fund these improvements?
So first, I'd like to acknowledge the great work the current council and mayor has done with the police chief and fire chief to start addressing these already. They're hard at work there, and I'd support those efforts already underway. The rest of the panelists, I think, have covered. I thought, what Hector said is also very wise. I think one of the challenges we have, right? We have a great fire department that's fully funded and they have good fundraising. But we don't have a lot of call outs per se. And so how do you leverage potentially police and fire together to get more scale? That's something that other cities in California have been doing our size. It's something we should look at.
Great, thank you very much. And now we'll move on to the next question, and we will start with Michelle. Michelle, how do you plan to encourage and finance the building of affordable and mid-price housing? And how do you plan to best utilize the unused or soon to be unused city properties?
Can you repeat that one more time? Sorry, I was on the end. I got a little bit longer.
Yes. Okay. How do you plan to encourage and finance building affordable and mid-price housing? And how do you plan to best utilize unused or soon to be unused parcels, city properties?
Yes. On affordable housing, my observation, we have two things to do. There's the RENA numbers, which require zoning and planning, but I'm not sure, it doesn't really require us to build. So if we want to build, I think we need to do two things. I think we need to work harder on sort of community awareness and acceptance, and do things we can to bring us all together so there's less resistance. And I think that having some city council goals that are like measurable and tied to numbers on affordable housing will be the one thing that will push us harder. I believe it's a community goal, and we need to push ourselves a little bit more. I think partnerships are going to be the name of the game on unused. We may need to bend a little bit on some, like the railroad property, work on some fundraising so that the city can get at least the minimum amount of money that it needs. But they're also probably going to, may need to come down on and accept not something that's not market value. Thank you.
Thank you. And Billy, now for you, the same question. How do you plan to encourage and finance affordable mid-price housing? And how do you plan to best utilize unused or soon to be unused city properties?
Right. So, to speak to that exactly, I would say, the railroad property, for instance, that we, did the Surplus Lands Act process. We've been through it. And although we're coming up on some budget deficits and digging into our reserves, I still believe that the most important thing is to work with our town, St. Helena, or other entities that can build affordable housing. And we do what we did with, Hunts Grove, Stonebridge properties, where we say, hey, we're going to work with you. We're going to lease this to you, basically, and forgive the lease, forgive the loan, and let you build affordable housing. Because as I look at it, if we don't do something like that and they don't get an opportunity to build on a city property that, is free or affordable, we are going to miss the window. And if we sell that, or we try to sell it to someone that will generate revenue for us, property tax, etc., we're going to lose. We have to make the right decision. And oftentimes decisions like this, they're the hardest thing to do, is do the right thing.
Thank you. And Hector, how do you plan to encourage and finance affordable and mid-price housing and best utilize unused or soon to be unused city properties?
Yeah, this is something that's completely near and dear to my heart. The key to affordable housing is building build to rent housing, not market affordable housing. That's a much different sticky wicket, and it's tied to market forces. We really need to focus on rental housing for working families to be able to get that going. First and foremost, we can get this running back immediately. Go back to the negotiation table with our town. They came in good faith to the city with a proposal and did everything and the costs associated with it. And we just cannot have our staff acting like de facto real estate agents. And that's just not how to do it. We have to be honorable about this. If we are truly committed to affordable housing, we have to work with them. And I say we give the land to them. Let's just get this going. They're ready to go. They've got a builder ready to go. Let's just get this going and not have our staff being real estate agents. If we're going to actually go that route, we have to start thinking about on how we deal with in dealing with our surplus land when we sell it.
Thank you. And Aaron, now the same question to you. How do you plan to encourage and finance the building of affordable mid-price housing? And how do you plan to best utilize unused or soon to be unused city properties?
Sure, thank you. So two questions here. One is affordable housing. We live in St. Helena. I think it's time for some hard truths. There is no affordable housing, even what we're calling affordable housing. A mobile home is $500,000. That's not affordable in my book. We're really struggling to get middle-class housing here and keeping our middle class. And I think that needs to be the focus. Of course, what other people have said, we continue to have those public-private partnerships to build homes. As far as what we do with the remaining city assets that we have to be very thoughtful there, because we do have a bond rating. These are all calculated within it. So giving things away, we'd have to make sure that it won't affect and have other ramifications. That being said, it should be part of a downtown plan, a larger strategy to be able to deal with these properties so we don't end up strategically making any errors. But it's a difficult question, and it's been a difficult question for decades here.
Thank you, Aaron. And Paul, to you now. How do you plan to encourage and finance the building of affordable mid-price housing? And how do you plan to best utilize unused or soon to be unused city properties?
So I agree with the comments that have been made here previously. I see affordable housing, employee housing, as I call it, as an economic development strategy. I see the need for employees because it really creates a full spectrum society, and we don't have one right now, unfortunately, in St. Helena. As others have said, we're losing families, we're losing the middle class. We've been doing that. Loss has been happening for a while. We don't have a strategy. We have a very bare bones skeletal strategy, but we do not have a housing strategy. That's where the new council should focus. If we are lucky to get revenues, we need to dedicate an employee, a housing manager, to run that, focus on that all day long, every day. We don't have that right now. It's a critical component of an economy. So I think actually having housing for our own employees would be looked upon favorably by the markets, because that leads to more revenue in sales and spending, and that's good for our economy.
Thank you. And now we'll move on to the next question, and we'll start with Billy. And the question is, how would you address the city's finances? What problems and opportunities do you see in the city budget resources? And what recommendations might you have for streamlining services?
Right. So streamlining services, it was, mentioned before, and we've been looking at shared services, combining fire and police into a, public service department where, these people are basically transformers that can, be a policeman, be a fireman, be an EMT, and, combining those services into, one public safety unit that can serve, everybody and be on multiple different calls at the same time. Can you repeat the question? It was what else was in there? Sorry.
Yeah. What problems and opportunities do you see in the city budget? How resources are allocated, as well as how would you address the city's finances?
Well, yeah, the finances are, a difficult problem. We addressed them. I was on the citizens committee. We looked at about 9 different options, and we picked the least worst, which ended up being the real property transfer tax. If it wasn't for me, it'd be at 2.5%, but I jumped in there, made it 1.5%, at least palatable, 15,000 per million. So I guess that's all the time I got. I'd love to tell you more about my plan, but I'm out of time. All right, thanks.
Sorry. And Aaron, to you, how would you address the city's finances? What problems and opportunities do you see in how the budget resources are allocated? And what recommendations would you have for streamlining services?
Sure. So streamlining services and how are the money in governments allocated can be the same answer. And what I'd be doing there is I'd want to see a city government modernization effort that targets changing structurally how we look at city government to save money. And because we're structured as we were 10, 20, 30 years ago, and things in government, I work in government, have moved on, and there's new concepts there. That's one. How we deal with revenue, I'd have a basket of shared sacrifice taxes, a parcel tax to secure the library at $286 a parcel, local business contributions, 0.25% increase in the sales tax and BLT tax, tourism, 1% adjustment in tote. And if the transfer tax passes, I'd be adjusting that down so it's not so impactful on one segment of our citizens. Thank you.
Thank you. And Paul, the question to you, how would you address the city's finances? What problems and opportunities do you see in how the city budget resources are allocated? And what recommendations do you have for streamlining services?
Well, I think we are in a changing economy right now. Other experts on this panel could attest to. You're seeing a decline in the luxury economy right now with wine and hospitality. That it's going to affect us over many, many decades. So I'm glad to be on a panel with folks like this, and hopefully some of my colleagues here to work on this issue. It's, in the short term, we can deal with these issues. It's going to be a balance of taxes. I'm open to a basket of taxes that have been put forward by others. I'm hopeful for the tax measure we have now. We need to continue to use technology to better use our own staff efficiently. There's all kinds of modern technology that we have not implemented yet. One sample of just a basic technology would be a smart meter that saves our city a whole lot of time and effort and money. Our meters are failing right now. Cameras that police use to stop crime is another one. Shared services that we've been focusing in on from day one, we need to continue to look at with other cities like Yountville and Calistoga, for sure. Thank you.
Great, thank you. And Michelle, now to you. How would you address the city's finances? What problems and opportunities do you see in how the city budget resources are allocated? And what recommendations do you have for streamlining services?
Thank you. Yes, when it comes to administrative services, I'd like for us to take a really close look. I understand that government is inherently inefficient, but really take a close look at inefficiencies that exist and duplicative services. I don't think we need to pay huge amounts of money to go hire big consultants to do that, but that it could be done internally. And then we can make sure that we're focusing current staff on things that are really important and are bringing value, possibly doing things a little bit differently than they've done in the past. Just like businesses look at this, things to always use new technologies, small technologies for improvement. I also think we can reduce our consultant use. We have a lot of unused consultant reports, and we have a lot of human capital in St. Helena. I think that we can harness that and capture that. In addition to saving money, it would help with the support by the community in helping be a part of these solutions. Thank you.
Great, thank you. And now for our next question, we will start with Hector. Hector, what is your opinion about
do I get to answer the question?
Oh,
I don't get
I'm
to answer
sorry.
the question myself.
Did I skip over?
You were just gonna pass right over me, weren't you?
I'm sorry. Go, Hector, please do.
No, my apologies. Yeah, everything is great. I'm hearing everything is great. Actually balance is the key on all of these issues. You have to balance revenues you have to balance with cuts, you have to balance with streamlining. Balance is key. We can't go heavy on one or heavy on the other. But we got to take a little bit at a time. Let's focus on revenue. A1, A2 are absolutely essential to doing this. Let's just focus on that, get that going, get it in the pipeline. Streamline services. Staff is already working on this right now. We should be getting reports in the next few months or whatever on where they're coming in with that. We don't want to beat that horse too much. We want to make sure not to tax too much of the businesses. COVID really hit everybody hard. We need to give these guys a little bit of a break. I think everyone is tired of sacrificing. We've all sacrificed right now. We just need to start recovering. And then I love the smart meters. Those are absolutely needed. Because we need to keep better track of the data that's coming from our water so that we know how to better manage it.
Great, thank you. And I apologize, Hector. I must have circled that before I picked it. But now, actually, with this question, you are first. What is your opinion about the adequacy, sustainability, and quality of St. Helena's water supply? And how will you plan to balance adding new users to the system without adversely impacting the current users?
That's a great question. I've written on this, sometime, and I've done a tremendous amount of research on this. I've talked to so many people in the community in regards to this. We have a tremendous resource of three main areas of water that we get it from Bell Canyon, from the city of Napa, and from our wells. All are robust. Right now, we're down to a tier system on how we do these things. And as it is right now, we need to readdress that and look at that a little bit more carefully on where we get our water from immediately. And right now, our primary concern is to get our water from the city of Napa, that we're already on the hook for 600 acre feet a year that we are on the hook that we have to pay regardless of whether or not we do it. That has got to be our first draw when we are filling, which is a blended system when we're filling our water system up, and then look at Bell Canyon, drawing down from that, and then last but not least, then look at the wells, since that is a real environmental concern.
Great, thank you. And now, Aaron, what is your opinion about the adequacy, sustainability, and quality of St. Helena's water supply? And what do you do to balance adding new users to the system without adversely impacting the current users?
So in 2019, we sold water deliveries 1,450 acre feet to St. Helena residents. In 2023, that was down to 909 acre feet. So that's a gap of close to 500 acre feet. And that explains why your rates are so high, because without selling the water, we have to pay because we have fixed costs. So it's a real issue. And it also goes into affordability, and it's hollowing out our middle class. My bill was just $1,500 in a single family home. That's a lot for water. We need to address it, but we address it actually by having more rate payers, right? More rate payers, we have to pay less. In fact, based on the 23 rate study, they had forecasted going back to 1,300 acre feet for water deliveries, and we're still in the mid 900s. So we're going to be looking at yet another rate increase between 13 and 19% incoming. So this is a really critical problem. The water quality is abysmal. The city's working on
I'm sorry.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
1 minute.
The time. I know, it's a big question. It's a big question. Paul, the same question to you. What's your opinion about the adequacy, sustainability, and quality of the water supply? And how would you balance adding new users without adversely impacting the current users?
Well, I think I'm particularly worried about the current supply, but the supply going forward, because as I understand it from folks who are in the know, one of them is Lester Hardy, who's working on the Groundwater Sustainability Committee. That I think there is going to be more of a push by the state to monitor our surface water use, and because of the connections or alleged connections with surface water and groundwater, and the county is going to continue to monitor that very carefully. So we're going to be facing regulatory pressure there. If I'm going to talk about using water, I would say prioritizing it. We all need to come together as policymakers and the community to figure out who gets the water first. For me, it would be employee housing, affordable housing as the first takers of that water. I agree that we have an economic issue here and a supply demand issue that Aaron has laid out. One of the things people don't talk about is we really need to start focusing on our Bell watershed. We need to study that because there's a lot of impacts to that water going into our reservoir that we have no studies on. We need to focus on that and try to buy water from Napa. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. I know this is a big one. I'm sorry. Michelle, and to you, what is your opinion about adequacy, sustainability, and quality of the water supply, and how to balance new users to the system without adversely impacting the current users?
Yeah, thank you. I think, again, water is kind of the biggest, a little bit of a scary problem, whether you're talking about adequacy, sustainability, quality. My observation is that we're not actually the only ones with this issue. There is a lot of federal and state money available between grants and 1% loans. So what I agree with everything that everyone else has said, but to take it a step further, I think that having a concerted effort to apply for some of those grants and loans, we may not get every one, but we should get a good amount of them. And looking also at, partnering with other local agencies. There's some big things to do there, but maybe also in some planning grants would be really helpful so that we don't have to feel the crunch of the money quite as hard, but can make some real progress. And that's what I'd like to see.
Great, thank you. And Billy, now to you. What is your opinion about the adequacy, sustainability, and quality of St. Helena's water supply? How would you plan to balance adding new users without adversely affecting current users?
Well, when I got this information and this data via Aaron and Mark Smithers, I immediately made a call to Noble House and I said, hey guys, would you be willing to hook up to city water? It looks like it would cost about this much. Would you be willing to do that, not drain the aquifer and not impact the environment? And they said they would be open to it, potentially. So it's just taking action where we can. I also don't think $1.79 million in smart meters when it only costs us $50,000 a year. So that takes 20 years, to pay itself off. and those cellular smart meters will only last 6 to 10 years. So we need to make smarter decisions. You know, if we have a lot of money, sure, play around, get some smart meters. Cool, it's fun, but it's not necessary. Now, the other issue is we have pipes from the 40s and pipes from the 60s where we're getting massive leakage and we don't know where or what or when. And so there's also, I mean, the water quality is awful. We need to expand into something like look at UV, look at ozone, look at charcoal filtration, and use the Grapevine app so we know what neighborhoods are getting brown, what are clean, so that we can get more
Thank
knowledge
you.
to staff and make decisions. Sorry for going over. I appreciate
No,
your
I know this was a
interrupt.
hard one for everyone. Thank you. Okay, now we will move on to the next question that actually came out of a group of high school students that were getting involved in civics. And one of the ways is to ask questions of their electeds. And they said, if elected, what actions would you promote to achieve net zero climate pollution by 2030? And we will start with Aaron.
So great question. Glad our folks in school are getting involved. This question though, how would we get climate neutral? I don't know the answer to. I know many things, but I don't know this. And I think for us in the city, the main focus isn't meeting an arbitrary number. You've heard our problems in the town. We need to focus in on some baseline areas, but keep our eye on doing the right thing with the environment and climate. And I think we'd all support, you know, doing the right thing there within reason. I wouldn't get on board with something like eliminating natural gas in town or anything too far out of field. But I think you can be practical and use common sense. And I think the council has a pretty good history of doing that with decisions. And I'd expect myself to be a part of sustaining that. Thanks.
Great, thank you. And Paul, to you, if elected, what actions would you promote to achieve net zero climate pollution by 2030?
Well, the number one cause of GHG emissions in our city is folks driving around town. And so what we need to do is focus on reducing vehicle miles traveled. And to do that, you need to have other options to the car. I serve on the MBTA, the Napa Valley Transportation Authority, and we are moving fairly robustly and vigorously to electric vehicles. And in our own city, we've done a fair amount of EV vehicles for our police department and other departments. We need to encourage that through charging stations. We need to have many more transit options. We need to have safer routes for bicyclists and pedestrians. There's a number of things that we can do, but getting out of our cars is the major one that we can do locally.
Great, thank you. And Michelle, if elected, what actions would you promote to achieve net zero climate pollution by 2030?
Yeah, thank you. I will agree that that is a tall order, and we need to strive for it, and hopefully we can get there. I will agree with more walking and biking, more station. A lot of this is about community education and our willingness to contribute and get out of our cars. I worked with an organization, the Go Green Initiative. They were about recycling, but their model was really cool. And they did all of this education in the schools, which was fantastic for children learning about this, you know, the environmental issues. But that's the way they got to the parents. And I've always had a vision of us doing things like that. Maybe not in the schools, it could be at the library, but educational initiatives through the children as a way to engage adults. And I think we also have a lot of retired folks who would be really interested in those kinds of things. So educational, interesting, creative educational initiatives that get us all on board and thinking about what we do would be my suggestion.
Thank you. And Billy, to you, if elected, what actions would you promote to achieve net zero climate pollution by 2030?
Well, I've been working very hard for the last 2 years on the Climate Action Committee, developing REACH codes for all of our municipalities throughout Napa Valley to adopt. But beyond just limiting CO2 and greenhouse gas emissions, what I'm really into is sequestration, right? Grabbing that carbon and holding it. And we need to really understand that is how you protect it, right? You want to limit it, but not everyone's going to get rid of their car or go electric or walk or bike, and it's not feasible for all families. But with sequestration, you capture that carbon, and that is the most protective thing that we can do. And it's not difficult to do, but we need to, like Michelle said, expand the education of the youth. And I love that the high school kids ask this question because they are the future. And with their heart and their mind stepping into this thoughtfulness, that's how we're going to save the world when I'm old and they're taking care of me. You know what I mean?
Thank you. Hector, and to you, if elected, what actions would you promote to achieve net zero climate pollution by 2030?
You know, I agree with Billy. I love the fact that the high schoolers came on with this. And to be honest, I have a really good feeling they're probably going to come up with much better solutions in the future than we are going to do now. But let's start it, basically recycle, reuse for new construction. Let's focus on that. We're going to be building new stuff. Let's make sure that we recycle, we reuse as much water as we can. That's at least towards, conservation. That always helps toward the goal. I agree with Paul on the expansion of more of the electrical vehicle use. More people are doing that, expanding the charging stations. We have to do safer bike use. I don't know about you guys, but I was a big biker for a long time. And, I competed in duathlons a lot. And Napa Valley was very, very dangerous. You had to make sure you got off the road by 10 a.m. because you'd get hit. So I love the Vine Trail. We have to develop that. We have to really embrace that and encourage a walking and biking solution. And I'd encourage us to go to look in Boulder, Colorado, and see the kinds of things that they've done to help address this as well. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And so we have now run out of time for the questions, and we're going to move on to your closing statements. Again, you will have 1 minute for each closing statement, and we will start in reverse order. So Michelle, you will be first.
Great. I just want to say how much I have enjoyed this whole process of being in this election. As I said, the best part of it has been getting out, meeting new people, learning new things. I feel like I've made a lot of friends, and I've enjoyed it. I've really been loving it. I'm an imperfect candidate. I made an error on this forum, so I wanted to apologize for that once more. I recognize, but I will own up to my mistakes when I make them. And so thank you, Aaron, for calling me out on that. And I was completely incorrect. I will always try my best. I will always listen. I will always admit when I have made an error. I'd love the opportunity to serve. I appreciate everyone's consideration. And thank you again for having me.
Thank you, Michelle. And now, Paul, for you, your closing statement.
Thank you. I won't take too much time. I just want to remind folks that I've been endorsed by a number of folks in the Napa Valley who've known me for 33 years. I've been endorsed recently by the St. Helena Star, the Democrats of Napa Valley, Democratic Central Committee, Congressman Mike Thompson, Senator Bill Dodd, Assemblymember Aguilar Curry, Board Supervisor Member Ann Cottrell, former Mayor Alan Galbraith, Mayor Scott Sedgley, Mayor Leon Garcia, Mayor Marjorie Moeller. They know me. They know I can build relationships. They know I'm committed to public service, and I am.
Thank you. And Aaron, your closing statement.
So thank you so much. This was great. I really appreciate the League of Women Voters, all the thoughtful questions. Of course, I think like all of us, we wish we had more time to get more in depth to the answers, but reality has to crash in. I do come with 20 years of finance experience and 10 years of local government experience. So I think I can bring a lot to the table working with the existing council staff and the greater Napa County. I know what right looks like in a lot of areas, and I could be a part of positive change here. I just want to credit Michelle as well, her grace, very much appreciated. Thank you.
Thank you. And Hector, your closing statement.
Again, I want to thank the League of Women Voters of Napa County on putting this on. This is a valuable tool to help everyone decide on where they want to cast their vote. I have, for the majority and almost my entire life, I've served in one way or another, professionally on a higher level, but I've always served people at this point. And if elected, this is a true honor for me to be able to serve my hometown and to do it in such a way that is meaningful, that's impactful, that will affect generations, affect my children who are, I have a 7, a 5, and a 10-month-old. I'm all about the future right now. And it's a bright future that I want for them. And I am so motivated to get my hands dirty and to work with all these wonderful people right here. However it goes, even if I don't get elected, you guys are still going to be seeing me. I guarantee you, on how this goes. So I want to thank all of you for your time. Thank you.
And thank you, Hector. And Billy, to you for your closing statement.
I don't want to end. I'm just going to stay on this Zoom call the rest of the night, man. No way. I'm not closing this thing down. Yeah, we're opening it up, right? That's what we're doing is, I'm here to serve. And I didn't know how amazing being of service could be until I started being of service to other human beings. And it changed my life. And it changed how I saw life and what I thought my goals were. And after that, I was open to serving. And when the council opportunity came up, I was open to it. And prior to that, I was not open to it. Same with the mayoral position. I'm open. And if people want me to help and serve, I'm willing to do that. But what we need is change. We need to make a change. And that could be me and Paul. That could be me and the rest of the people on this Zoom call right now. Whoever, whenever, whatever, we need to make a change. And we are that change. And we don't look outside of ourselves, but we come together and we make that change and we step up and we make the right decision, which is often the most difficult decision. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. And thank you all, because we really appreciate, we know there's been a lot of requests for your time, and we appreciate you making time for us here and for the community, and even having the energy and the willingness to run for office. That really says a lot to the community about all of you. So we appreciate that. And now I will just share some slides just to give a brief overview about measures A1 and A2. Let's see here. And make sure I can share my screen properly. Okay.
Just a thank you to my Helena. Appreciate your time and efforts.
Okay. And hopefully folks are seeing that. So there are there's 3 measures in St. Helena. I'm not going over measure B, but for measures A, 1, and 2, we want to make sure that people are clear that they're tied together. And the way they're tied together is A1 is St. Helena asking to become a charter city, but to a limited degree. There's general law cities that follow the California Constitution and have rules they abide by. When you become a charter city, that gives more flexibility and local control over things that are happening within the city. St. Helena's asking to have the ability to put in place things like the real property transfer tax. A1 must pass in order for A2 to be enacted and pass if it passes. So A1 must pass, and then A2 must pass before that tax can be implemented. So I want people to understand how that's connected. So A1 does give St. Helena new authority over local funding and some proposed new taxes, but not other new city powers that some charter cities enact. A2 itself is really trying to figure out a way to help what's estimated to be a $10 million need per year. And the A2, as it's written, estimates to bring in $6 or $7 million a year. And that will really help fund the big finance gap that is envisioned today. Then there's still going to be more work that's going to need to be done for the rest. And A2 applies a 1.5% tax on property sales between $1 million and $5 million, and then 3% for sales that are over $5 million. A2 does not change the sales tax on sales under $1 million, which is currently at 27.5 cents per $500 value. So I'm not going to go into more on the pros and cons of each of these, but wanted to make sure that folks listening in understand how those two are tied and how critical or involved they are with the planning for finances for St. Helena going forward. And then for us, this is it for tonight, but there's a lot more information. I'm sure the candidates have already been asked to put their information into the League's vote411.org listing. It has information about candidates, the measures, and who's financing different things. And there's a lot more information out there. You can put your address in and see what's going to be on your specific ballot, because some things are by district in some of the cities. So we feel that this is a valuable tool that people can use to find out more. And we want to remind people that October 21st is the last day to register online and still get a ballot in the mail. You can register after that in person at a vote center or at the election office up until the end of the day at 8 o'clock on November 5th. But if you want to get a ballot that you can mail in, then October 21st is the last day to register. Voted by mail ballots must be postmarked or deposited in a drop box or turned into a vote center on it before November 5th, 8 p.m. You'll see drop boxes around town. There's vote centers that are going to be opening up soon. We are lucky here in Napa to have a lot of ways to get our ballots in. You don't have to do postage, even though you put it in a mailbox. The drop box doesn't need postage. Just, make sure you just get it in by 8 p.m. on November 5th. If you want to track your ballot and see where it is, there is a Secretary of State website you can go to and says, where's my ballot? You can sign up for that. And I've signed up for that. So I already got a text that told me that my ballot was in the mail. And then today I got it. And when I fill that out and send it in, I will get a text when it shows up at the election office. So if you really want to know where it's going and how it's all worked, you can do that. And if you're not sure if you're registered, what address you used, something like that, we've also have some folks now, we're making sure that your signature matches what's on your license, because as people, especially as some of us might age or have strokes or whatever, your signature starts changing, and then you might wind up with a mismatch. Now, our election department does a lot to try and get back to you and have you correct that, but that's one of the other things to see. And our election, Napa County election website has a lot of information. So please use the resources we have. Here's some more here with those. Oh, sorry. And then not least, thank you all. And just make sure you get out and vote. It's right, it's a privilege, and we want to make sure everybody takes advantage of that. But thank you for everything for tonight. That's it.
Thank you so much, Bernie.
Thank you.
Really do appreciate it. Thank you so much for your time on this.
Thank you all. Good night.
Good
Thank
night.
you. Thank
See you
you all.
guys.